As a human, your body has an animal instinct to focus on survival. As a human in a modern society, your mind is focused on prosperity and ways to improve your current situation. This can become a frustrating cycle of want, self-sabotage, and failure. Here at Know How, we want you to be happy and successful whilst nurturing the values that make being a human such an amazing experience. In this video, we are going to cover 8 mental mistakes that you may be making which are preventing you from being satisfied and prosperous. Once you know what to look out for, you can make better choices. Pursuing something just because you're already invested. This is also called the sunk cost fallacy, and we've discussed it in other videos. The problem with this mindset is that you put yourself under pressure because you have already invested time, effort, money, or all three into a project or experience. Therefore, you feel obligated to see it through to the end. There could be people relying on you, or money that you may lose, and these kinds of stresses will blind you when you're trying to make an impartial decision. If you have doubts about something or a gut feeling that something's wrong, then take the time to review the benefits of continuing. This could be something as large as your career, university course, or employment journey. Or it could be a new interpersonal relationship that doesn't feel quite right. Rather than assuming that you're stuck on the course you're already on, remember that you do have options. It may be hard to break up a relationship, but in the end, it's far better than cheating on your partner and ruining both your lives and your reputation. It may seem impossible to change your job, but if you're stuck in a bad job for decades, you will end up with health issues and you can waste, potentially, your entire life becoming unfulfilled. Don't let anything cloud your judgment, and, when in doubt, talk to your friends, family, or even a counsellor to get their honest opinion. After all, they're not invested in it. A masked view of the situation. Have you ever seen someone and imagined how easy their life must be, or even wished that you were in their situation? We all carry a personal bias with us. It's a filter that we see the world through. No matter how objective you are, or what role you have in society, you will use the experiences you've had and the opinions you have formed to make a judgment on other people and other situations. Yet, this is only one part of the full situation. The rest of this is masked from you because you don't have all the information, and truthfully, you will never fully understand the other person's perspective or motivations. This kind of wishful thinking will lead to misery for 2 major reasons. The first, you may be looking up to someone you idolise and therefore feel despondent about your own current life situation. This can then lead to lack of motivation, depression, and missing out on achievable goals simply because you don't feel you're worthy enough to complete them. Secondly, you could assume that you have a great life right now and begin to look down on others who don't fit your idea of perfection. This will lead to you becoming thought of in the community as a snob, judgmental, and supercilious. Both these examples are taken from real life. Remember, you will never know 100% of what is going on in a situation or why someone reacts in a certain way. But if you take the time to listen and find out more, you will realise that we're all facing daily struggles which can be masked from an outside perspective. First impressions count. This is true when meeting people, but we're also talking about something called anchoring. This is when you receive the first piece of information about a situation, and then subconsciously you begin to measure all new information against that first part. You may not realise that you're doing it, but it does happen all the time. A good example of this anchoring is hearing a fact or an anecdote from a friend. This could be about something happening in the media, such as a court case, or just a random bit of interesting information. Let's say that you're hanging out with your friends one sunny day in the park, and your best friend tells you, "Wow, did you know I watched this documentary last night about Mount Fuji in Japan? It said on there that the famous white snow cap isn't actually snow, it's made up of tiny white granite stones." Now, this is your best friend and you're both well educated, so why would you disbelieve her? She also told you that she heard it on a documentary, and she's never usually wrong, and you yourself aren't 100% sure that it really is snow up there on the mountaintop. A couple of days later, you tell your mum the same anecdote, and she tells you that your friend was wrong. It's definitely snow. It must be another mountain that has those tiny stones as an optical illusion. So, who do you believe now? You want to believe your mum straight away, but your mind measures what she's saying against what your best friend has already told you. You automatically put the first bit of information at a higher priority than subsequent fragments of facts that you receive. In the end, you need to find proof, and so you look on a trusted website. But remember, you didn't need hard evidence for the facts when your friend told you initially, you just believed her. Knowing and understanding that this is how your brain reacts to information is incredibly important for avoiding holding yourself back in life. Think of people in religions or cults that suddenly realise after years of isolation that they were being held prisoner. They were easily manipulated because they believed the first piece of information they were told, even if it was false. Always take the time to research facts yourself or ask more than one person before you form an opinion. Being truthful to yourself and others. It's very easy in life to become defensive. Situations that make you feel uncomfortable or under threat can make you try to squirm your way out, which often involves denial. This is, in fact, called cascade denial because of the way that it escalates and changes, like someone tipping a bucket of water over a large boulder. At the top, it hits only the top of the boulder, you. But by the time it's cascaded over the surface, the whole base and area around the boulder is now soaking wet. Politicians and habitual liars are the most common people to use this type of denial, but you may have done it without realising. Let's say you're blamed by your parent for something. The blame falls on you alone, and you are nervous about the consequences. Now, you deny it and try to argue that your sister or brother was involved too. They broke the china plate and they hid the pieces. You just watched it happen. When your parent doesn't believe you, you admit it was your fault, but you try the excuse, the denial, that you'd had a bad day at school and you were very tired because your gym teacher made you run laps around the field. You have now cast the blame and denial so wide that your school teachers, friends, siblings, they've all been accused. In reality, if you had been truthful and admitted breaking the china plate or causing the issue, you could show the world your integrity and responsibility by owning up for your actions. This defensive way of thinking will affect your ability to make safe and prosperous decisions in the future. So, be honest with yourself and others, and this will earn you respect. Binary thinking will hold you back. We evolved from a place where survival forced us to use black and white thinking. There was no grey area when you were fighting for your life. Either you beat the predator or you lost and were injured. Either you found the food or you knew starvation was close at hand. In simple prehistoric society, our ways of thinking were limited because we didn't have the luxuries of safety and time. Of course, being able to make quick decisions is important. It's the process behind these decisions which needs to be appreciated. It's no longer a case of win or lose. There is scope to plan your life. There is time to consider all of the options. You could be holding yourself back in situations because, out of habit, you revert to your instinctual brain and think in this binary way of yes or no. There is always a maybe. Remember this when you are feeling conflicted. Ask questions and choose your path to success from a place of calm reflection. Making false connections between events. It is incredibly easy to assume that because events have happened one after the other, that they are connected. If the pattern happens more than once, you can even fool yourself that this is a confirmation they're connected. In reality, some natural events have a cause and effect cycle, such as a rainbow always coming after rain. This, for example, is scientifically proven, but in your life, if your football team loses, you always get sick on a Monday, your mum always calls on a Thursday, even though you didn't agree to a specific day or time, or your dog always seems to find the muddiest puddle to roll in when you urgently have to be somewhere else after their walk. These things are just events that happen to have been a regular occurrence in that pattern for a while. You are noticing them more because you are focusing your attention on them. You're expecting them. Therefore, just like when someone has a lucky object, it becomes a superstition. Wearing a certain pair of socks before a basketball match, rubbing a special rock 5 times and saying a prayer. None of these things will change the outcome of the chain of events that are going to happen. They just make you feel better. These are things that can seriously affect your judgment and even make you fearful when deciding on a new path to choose in life. A human mind cannot create a random list of numbers. Eventually, there will always be a pattern. This is because we seek out patterns in all we do. It is hard to accept that sometimes things just happen for no reason. Yes, good things can happen to bad people, and of course, bad things can happen to good people. It should not deter you from taking a calculated risk, or you'll never progress. Inspire yourself, or be bored forever. If this sounds harsh, it's because it's true, and sometimes we all need that kick up the butt, or as most people call it, motivation. The problem comes when you wait for this elusive motivation to strike. A good example of this, which can be seen through Western history for centuries, is the tortured writer or artist. Books and even movies have been written about penniless, starving artists trying to find their inspiration. They go from bar to bar, attending drunken parties, sitting in loft spaces, drinking coffee, and wondering when their next great masterpiece will emerge. The fact of the matter is, all those years spent hiding away or limiting themselves to a certain social situation will rarely provide true inspiration and motivation. You need to put yourself in situations where you can be challenged and keep learning. This maintains your inquisitive mind and prevents you from becoming bored or unmotivated because you simply don't have a chance to sit around. Walking in nature with friends, taking part in theatre classes, learning a new creative skill like sewing or woodwork or metalwork, going back to college or school, helping out with community projects where you meet new people. These types of things will inspire you. How can you make that winning goal in life when you're not even standing on the football field? Being right all the time is wrong. Are you surrounded by people who agree with you all of the time? Do you see yourself as someone who knows everything, someone who can win any argument? This mental mistake is not about being overconfident and learning humility, although that would help. Number 8 is about checking yourself for confirmation bias. This way of thinking may seem harmless, but in the long run, it severely stunts your growth. We love being right and having our opinions validated. In this way, we tend to surround ourselves with people who agree with our viewpoints and like similar things to us. This is fine for a while, even for a few years. That's how we make friends. However, eventually, you will end up with a skewed perception of the world. Do you remember the famous fairy tale about the Emperor's new clothes? Everyone around the Emperor feared him and wanted his approval so much that they just said yes to everything he asked them. So, when a conman came to the city and told the Emperor he could make the world's most expensive and amazing clothes out of invisible silk, all the courtiers and lawyers agreed that they could see the fake suit that the conman was holding up. Of course, there was nothing there at all. So, the Emperor asked them again, "Are you sure these garments are the finest in all the land?" His advisors agreed and they complimented him. So, he wore the clothes on the day of the parade through the town, everyone pretending that they couldn't see he was in fact nude. Eventually, a little kid pointed out and shouted, "The Emperor's naked!" revealing his truth and of course his nudity, humiliating the Emperor in front of his entire nation. This was a cautionary fairy tale from nearly 200 years ago. It was written by Hans Christian Andersen and translated into over 100 languages to explain to children that it's better to surround yourself with honest people than face embarrassment and be seen as ignorant. Your mindset should be focused on revealing the truth about every decision or risk, rather than just what you hope will be the best outcome. Now that you've discovered what could be holding you back, we hope you can use this information to help you in your future ambitions. Whether you'd like to get rich, become happier, or simply be more aware of your decision-making process, we appreciate you taking the time to listen to our advice. If you have enjoyed this video and you're inspired by what you've seen, don't forget to like, subscribe and share. Let's change the world together.